What if I told you Star Wars might be preparing for its biggest course correction since Disney bought Lucasfilm? Because according to a growing collection of rumors and leaks, Dave Filoni may be planning something far bigger than just another season of Ahsoka. We're talking about bringing the Skywalkers back to the center of Star Wars. We're talking about massive Force mythology. We're talking about Thrawn. We're talking about Abeloth. We're talking about possible Yuuzhan Vong inspired threats. And yes, we're even talking about rumors that Anakin Skywalker could somehow return in a physical form. And honestly, guys, even if half of this ends up being true, Star Wars could look very different by the time we reach franchise's 50th anniversary in 2027.
This is the way. This is the way.
Welcome to Fatherly Fandom. I'm your host, Chris, and if you love Star Wars breakdowns, deep dives, lore discussions, and all things nerdy, you're absolutely in the right place. So hit that subscribe button. Your inner nerd will thank you. And don't forget to turn on notifications because YouTube loves turning them off by default. So if you love everything this channel's producing, click that bell icon. Today, we're breaking down the latest rumors surrounding Lucasfilm, a possible shift in the future of Star Wars, and what Dave Filoni may be planning for the next chapter of the galaxy far, far away. And guys, before we go any further, let's establish something important. None of this has been officially confirmed by Lucasfilm. These reports come from insiders, leaks, rumor channels, and speculation. So take everything you're about to hear with a healthy dose of skepticism. Before we jump into the details, I also want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Keith from Not Your Status Quo. Keith was actually the person that brought a lot of these rumors and discussions to my attention, and this got me digging deeper into some of the reporting and speculation surrounding Lucasfilm's future plans. So definitely go check out Not Your Status Quo if you haven't already. And if you enjoy the kind of Star Wars discussions, breakdowns, theories, and fandom conversations we have here on Fatherly Fandom, there's a really good chance you're going to enjoy what they're doing over there as well. And I'll make sure to link to their channel down in the description below. Now, with that said, let's get into what these rumors could mean for the future of Star Wars. The biggest rumor centers around a major creative pivot. Instead of moving further away from the original saga, Lucasfilm may be shifting focus back towards the Skywalkers. According to these rumors, Filoni's larger crossover plans are being reworked to put Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, and the larger Skywalker legacy back at the center of the story. But that doesn't mean the Mandoverse is necessarily going away. But instead of being primarily about the Mandalorians, bounty hunters, and the remnants of the Empire, it may become something much bigger. Something that ties directly into the Skywalker saga itself. And honestly, guys, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you know I've talked about this before. Not because I think Star Wars should live entirely in the past, not because I don't want new characters, but because there's still an enormous amount of unexplored storytelling in the post-Return of the Jedi era. Think about it. We saw Luke become a hero, we saw Luke become a Jedi, we saw older Luke in a sequel trilogy, but we've barely seen the years between. The years when he was rebuilding the Jedi Order, searching ancient temples, learning Force secrets, training students, trying to restore what was lost. That era remains one of the biggest storytelling opportunities in the entire franchise. And honestly, guys, this is where I have to bring up a video I made recently, because I've been saying this for a while, that Star Wars desperately needs a Clone Wars style animated series set right after Return of the Jedi. A series following Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, Lando, and the New Republic during the years after the Empire falls. A show that fills in the massive gaps between the original trilogy and the sequel era. A show that could introduce characters like Jade, explore Luke's Jedi Academy, show Ben Solo's early years, expand the New Republic, and give us years of stories the fans have wanted for decades. Because if Lucasfilm is really pivoting back towards the Skywalkers, that era suddenly becomes incredibly important. And that's where another rumor starts getting interesting, because some fans believe Filoni could eventually introduce Jade into canon. Again, this is pure speculation, but if that happened, it would fundamentally change the perception that the Skywalker bloodline ended with Ben Solo. And that ties directly into another rumor making the rounds. The idea of a soft retcon of the sequel trilogy, not erasing episodes 7, 8, and 9, not removing them from canon, but expanding the story beyond them, adding new pieces to the puzzle, changing the finality of what we thought we knew. Then we get the rumor that has everyone talking, Anakin Skywalker. Because according to some reports, Ahsoka Season 2 is being restructured around Force mythology, Mortis lore, and deeper cosmic mysteries. And the ultimate goal could be bringing Anakin back in some kind of physical form. Now let's be very clear. Hayden Christensen is confirmed to return as Anakin Skywalker in Ahsoka Season 2. That part is official. But Anakin literally returning to life, that remains pure speculation. Still, when you look at what Dave Filoni has done throughout his career, it's not difficult to understand why these these series are gaining some traction because Filoni has always been fascinated by the spiritual side of Star Wars. And honestly, there may be some interesting Star Wars history that makes this rumor more believable than people think. Because if Anakin returning sounds impossible, it's worth remembering that George Lucas once explored an idea that was even crazier. And I think a lot of Star Wars fans have probably never heard this story. During the development of Return of the Jedi, George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan experimented with early drafts that handled Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda very differently than the movie we eventually got. Most fans know the final version. Obi-Wan appears as a Force ghost, Yoda dies peacefully on Dagobah, and both continue guiding Luke from beyond death. But some of the 1981 story drafts went much further. In those early versions, Obi-Wan and Yoda would actually return physically from what was described as the netherworld of the Force. Not as ghosts, not as visions, physically. During Luke's confrontation with Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, Obi-Wan and Yoda would reportedly appear in the flesh, actively helping him in the fight. In one of the drafts, they even protected Luke from the Emperor's Force lightning. Think about that for a second. Imagine Return of the Jedi ending with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda literally stepping back into the living world to stand beside Luke against Palpatine. And it gets even crazier. One June 1981 draft reportedly featured Obi-Wan telling Luke, "I am here to help you destroy the Emperor and your father." In other words, Obi-Wan wasn't simply offering advice anymore. He was becoming an active participant in the battle itself. And then there was the ending. According to several early concepts, once Vader was redeemed and the Emperor was defeated, fully resurrected Jedi would join the celebration on Endor. Not as blue ghosts, not as spirits, actually alive. Obi-Wan, Yoda, and even Anakin Skywalker, standing among the rebels and Ewoks in the flesh. Now, obviously, that never happened. George Lucas ultimately abandoned the idea, partly because he realized it weakened the sacrifice of their deaths. If Jedi could simply come back whenever they wanted, death loses much of its meaning. This happens all the time in comics and things like that, and it's such a bad trope. And there were practical filmmaking concerns too. Bringing Alec Guinness back for major action sequences wasn't exactly the easiest thing in the world, so Lucas ultimately simplified the concept and created the Force Ghost mythology we know today. But here's why that matters, because it proves something incredibly important. George Lucas himself once explored the idea of powerful Force users physically returning from death. The concept wasn't invented by modern Star Wars fans. It wasn't invented by YouTubers. It wasn't invented by rumor channels. It was something George Lucas actually considered while developing one of the most important films in the franchise. Now, am I saying Dave Filoni is directly adapting those drafts? No. There's no evidence of that. But if there's one thing Filoni has consistently done throughout his career, it's take forgotten Star Wars concepts and find ways to bring them into modern canon. He's done it with Legends characters. He's done it with unused George Lucas concepts. He's done it with Ralph McQuarrie artwork. He's done it with abandoned Clone Wars storylines. He's done it with concepts fans thought would never become canon. In many ways, Filoni has built modern Star Wars by digging through the franchise's attic and finding ideas worth revisiting. It's one of the reasons I love Dave Filoni, which is why some fans believe these Anakin rumors aren't simply about bringing back a popular character. They may be about finally exploring questions Star Wars has been asking for nearly 50 years now. Questions about life and death, questions about the cosmic force, questions about destiny, questions about what becoming one with the Force truly means. And honestly, guys, if Dave Filoni is looking for a place to explore those questions, there's one storyline that makes more sense than any other. Mortis. Because if Ahsoka Season 2 is truly diving into Force mythology, Mortis could become the center of everything. For those who don't remember, the Mortis arc from the Clone Wars remains one of the strangest and most important stories Star Wars has ever told. I love this storyline. The father, the son, the daughter, ancient Force beings who seem to exist outside normal reality. Anakin was identified as the chosen one capable of balancing their power, and more than 15 years later, fans are still debating exactly what Mortis was. A planet, a Force realm, another dimension, a vision, a place outside space and time? The truth is, we still don't really know, and Filoni has repeatedly revisited Mortis mythology ever since. The world between worlds, the Lothal mural, Mirai, Ahsoka's connection to the daughter, even Anakin's appearance in Ahsoka carried echoes of Mortis symbolism. If these rumors are true, I don't think the goal would simply be bringing Anakin back because fans love Anakin. I think the goal would be using Anakin to finally explain deeper mysteries of the Force itself, the Chosen One prophecy, balance, destiny, life after death, and honestly, that sounds like the kind of story Dave Filoni would want to tell. But if none of that actually happens, there's another character who may end up being the real center of this entire story, Thrawn. Because if Filoni is building towards a giant crossover event, Thrawn has to be at the center of it. Everything since The Mandalorian has been leading towards this return. The Imperial Remnant, the failure of the New Republic, Ahsoka, Ezra, Ahsoka, the growing instability throughout the galaxy. All roads seem to lead back to Grand Admiral Thrawn, and according to some rumors, the threat may become even larger. Some speculate Filoni could adapt concepts inspired by Abeloth. Others believe elements of the Yuuzhan Vong could eventually influence future stories. And Dave Filoni's actually played with this concept before. He was going to introduce them in Clone Wars at one point. There's storyline drawings of this online. Again, none of this is confirmed, but if Lucasfilm wants a massive event story that unites every hero from this era, they're going to need a threat large enough to justify it. And then there's the timing, 2027, because one thing is absolutely real. Star Wars turns 50 years old in 2027. Imagine celebrating 50 years of Star Wars with a restored release of the original film, a massive Thrawn event, a deeper exploration of Force mythology, and perhaps the biggest Skywalker story since Return of the Jedi. Whether these rumors are true or not, one thing is certain. Star Wars is approaching a major crossroads, and the decisions Lucasfilm makes over the next few years could define the franchise for an entire generation of fans. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think these rumors are true? Would you want to see Anakin Skywalker actually return? Should Mara Jade finally become canon? Do you think Mortis is the key to the future of Star Wars? And would you watch a Clone Wars style animated series set after Return of the Jedi? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And before we wrap up today's video, one more thank you to Keith and everyone over at Not Your Status Quo for helping bring some of these rumors and discussions to my attention. If you haven't checked out their channel yet, make sure you do. They're putting out some great Star Wars content, and I think a lot of you would really enjoy it. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow Star Wars fans. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, stay nerdy, my friends. May the Force be with you, and I will see you next time.